you just hear this kind of like shuffling, and then you just boosh. And I'm like, oh crap. He's dressed, right? Like all of his clothes are on, and he's like, you just hear splashing, like, like trying to get out on the other side. He got out on the other side, and he's like, whoa, I made it. The bad news is there's more. So what we couldn't see was that around the bend, there were 2 more potholes. Oh gosh. So my dad is like, you could tell he just like flips the switch, right? He's all of a sudden going into like survival mode, right? This is now a life-threatening situation because he's wet, cold, doesn't have a way to get dry. We're in the middle of a slot canyon. We can't build a fire because there's no place to build a fire, you know?
Fasten your seatbelt.
All right, guys, today we have a really special podcast. I have my dear friend Laura on, and we get really personal with basically her life, but a lot of it is the influence that it's had on me. I am so grateful for her to come on and just really share her heart. So let's get to it. I'm so happy to have you here. This is an episode I am very excited about because I'm not nervous at all. We don't have to do anything. There's no requirements for this conversation. You are a dear friend of mine for several years. You and I have traveled in overlanding and over cliffs, and you haven't talked me into anything crazy lately.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping there's still a chance that I can do that. It's on the list. Okay. I'm like, what can I do to torture Jillian this year? Sure.
Yeah, that is the catalyst. that is like the tone of our relationship.
I do feel like I get to take you out of your comfort zone a lot, whether it's like off a cliff or in other ways.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's a great way to say that, because I think that is part of the magic of you and I, and as different as we are. I love our relationship because whether or not I want to be forthcoming or want you to, like, I cannot hide from you, I guess, in a lot of ways. And so that is a very special relationship. And I think there's just a great intimacy between our two, like, our souls.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that it's like this beautiful give and take because, while I may offer you challenges, you offer me challenges in a different way too. I want you to know that anything I offer you, you offer just as much in return. So.
Oh, well, I'm glad it's not a one-sided relationship.
No, that's not how relationships work. I don't know if you know.
Well, I don't think we would get this far if it was one-sided at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, back to, I think it's one of my favorite stories, and I know I've told this story publicly before. I'm not sure if it was on this podcast though, but.
Maybe with Rochelle.
It might have been with Rochelle.
Yeah.
Who is a part of not only a Citizen J alumni, but she's also a part of our girls group, our women's overlanding group. But you created that group, or at least started what turned into our group of women. And it's such an inspiring way that you did it, because if y'all don't know, Laura does these, you do vision boards every year.
Yes.
And I will say I have definitely been someone who would probably make fun of somebody who does a vision board.
Absolutely. It's totally fine.
Like, really? A vision board? Okay. Yes. Okay. But you've kind of you've shown me that, like, okay, if you're going to do a vision board, that's how you do a vision board. So have you always done those?
I've done a vision board for... quite a few years. I don't know exactly when I started, but probably 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe what does that look like for you? Because I'm sure there's different versions.
Yes. So for me, a vision board is just something really, really simple. I think you can go a lot of different ways with it. You can get detailed or whatever you want, but mine simply looks like a cork board on a wall, and it has like written out things that I want to achieve or experience. And like, just mine's really just plain. Like, here's a piece of paper. I just ripped it out of a binder and I pin it up on a cork board. And sometimes I'll have pictures or photos that go along with it to kind of help give you that visual. And that's the whole thing with a vision board, is it's supposed to give you the vision. You're supposed to visually be able to see and experience what it is you want to achieve in the future right there in that present. So it's going along with like manifesting, which I know sometimes gets a lot of hate too. Mm-hmm. But when you break it down what it is it's just living intentionally. That's all it is. That's all any of these things are. Like, I mean, you could wake up every day and you could journal, or you could have a vision board, or you could say affirmations, or, I mean, there's thousands of ways these days that people manifest or whatever, but it's just living intentionally. And so that's all it is for me. And I have many different ways that I live intentionally, and that's one of them.
So I was going to tell this story, but I'm realizing I should have you tell the story since it is your story. So what is,
let's tag team.
And who knows if I'm actually even telling the story.
We'll tell it together. So I was making goals for my vision board. And one of those goals is that I wanted to be invited to be part of a women's overlanding group. And it took me a minute to realize that this was like a really silly goal, like a ridiculous goal. And the reason for that is because, number one, is I had no idea if there was a women's overlanding group. Like, there wasn't a specific one in mind that I had, you know? And then number two is that I was giving somebody else the power to make my dreams come true. I was waiting for somebody else to invite me to be part of the group, and waiting for somebody else to decide I was worthy or whatever of a group.
Right.
And I'm like, what? That is wrong. That is so wrong. And actually, I didn't realize that in a lot of the goals that I had been setting up until that time, I was being what I would call a victim to my goals. I was setting goals very victimizing, right? Rather than being the one in charge of those goals happening. So I was like, screw this. I don't even know if there's a freaking group. Like, I'm going to create my own group, right? And so I just reached out to women that I knew on Instagram. And I'm not going to say like I was friends with them even. Like, these are just women who I followed, and I knew that they liked overlanding. I hadn't vetted them out or anything. So I just reached out to probably about like 7, maybe 6 women.
Okay.
And one of them was Rochelle Croft, and she knew you. And so she said, hey, is it okay if I invite my friend Jillian? And I'm like, yeah, the more overlanding women, the better. Let's bring them. And so the crazy thing is that I slid into everybody's DMs and I'm just like, hey, I'm Laura, and I'm wondering if you want to go camping with me in the desert, you know? And so everybody that I reached out to hops onto a Zoom call, and wow, just like thinking back to it, it's just really actually kind of crazy.
It's totally crazy. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
I think you changed this. I think it changed all of our mindsets, because I don't think anybody thought this could happen, would happen, and would have looked anything like it is.
Yeah.
It was kind of life-changing, the experience.
It was downright life-changing for me.
Yeah.
I can say that for sure.
Yeah.
But for you, I want to hear your side of it.
So Rochelle reaches out, and in my mind, I think she's a part of this group.
Yeah.
Like, I don't...
Like, she's like already established. She's vetted it out. She knows who to expect. She probably knows me.
Right. I think I'm going into a safe environment, and little do I know, and this I think came out maybe not even on the first trip, like later down the road, she's like, oh no, I just needed a partner to make sure I didn't get killed on this.
She needed a safety buddy, and you were that
and I was the safety buddy.
Yes.
So I didn't know any of that. But yeah, we somehow just all agreed, and it was like, you just put like a point on the map. And what I love it, that point on the map isn't like in the middle of Salt Lake or, you know, just in the foothills of something. Like, it was like 2 hours out of cell service from anywhere.
Yep.
Into a place I'd never been.
Yep.
Like, way off the beaten path. Like, let's meet here.
Yeah, like, let's literally meet in the middle of nowhere, Utah, where you cannot call somebody if I end up stabbing you in the middle of it.
Thankfully, we're a bunch of independent women who I think but we didn't know that. We didn't know anything.
No. I'm sincerely impressed with all of the girls who showed up.
Yeah.
And that they were willing to just like take a stab at it and just give it a shot. And I think that is another thing that unites us all, is that we're all the type of women who are like, hey, you know what? Like, let's just do it. Let's just go for it. Let's see if this works. Let's see what happens from it. And that kind of person is a special kind of person.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that's one of our uniting features. So
I agree. And I think that's special. And I what I love about telling that story is women sometimes with the hobby that we do, or just adventure and kind of doing experiences that are outside the box. You just got to step out sometimes. And that's really, I'm sure it was uncomfortable for you in those, those pivotal moments where do I send the message? Do I not? Do I offer to do this activity? Do I not? Are they going to think I'm crazy? Because the addition to this story is like, after we've all agreed to show up, you're like, hey, do you guys canyoneer at all?
And you're like, what the
I'm
fuck
like,
is canyoneering?
Google canyoneering. And I'm like, what are we doing? And I do this thing, and I would love to share that with you.
And maybe we should explain what canyoneering is.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So canyoneering in Utah, you get a lot of these tiny, small little, we call them crack canyons or slot canyons. And so crack canyon is defined by you can put your hands on both sides of the canyon at one point.
Okay.
So that's what it has to, those are the,
the rules.
Those are the rules.
The definitions. Yeah. Ours was a mix of both, though, because it got wider.
Yes, it got wide. But at some point, it would have been that small in order to identify it as that. Okay. So just at some point in the canyon, it needs to be that small.
Okay.
So these have sheer walls. Sandstone is very, very smooth. And I'm using quotations here because it's smooth as in it doesn't have edges that you could like climb out on, but it's very abrasive. It's sandpaper, essentially.
And so that's where the joke of like my first interaction with you within 24 hours, you had me like, no exaggeration, stepping off of the edge of a cliff.
Yes.
Going, I got you, stranger that I just met 24 hours ago.
Totally fine. I totally have you.
There's a little bit of crazy in all of our brains. I mean, I think as I was like suspended from like a 30-foot wall, cliff wall, I'm going, what am I doing?
No, I'm pretty sure you literally said that.
Oh, I said a lot of things. Yes, I'm sure I said a lot of things. I was not happy to be doing what we were doing once I realized exactly what it was.
I did not know if you were going to be my friend after that. Like, I know Rochelle she was pushing herself physically, and I was very, kind of concerned about her wanting to come back as well. But I was the most worried about. I was like, she's never going to want to be my friend. I don't know what I did, So I was definitely concerned about that.
That last section, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that last section was a lot of this.
Yes.
And I mean, like, you're like the tops of your butt and like your elbows, like you were missing like the top layer of skin and clothing.
Yes, exactly. So in a lot of these canyons, you have to rappel into them, and that's where it would become a technical slot canyon or technical canyoneering.
Which I had never done anything like that.
I've never
even been in a harness before. Like,
I'm just so impressed that I really continue to be so impressed with your willingness to just like go with it, So we did rappelling into this one, and then there's also things like bridging and stemming.
Right.
And those are where, you have your hands on one side and your feet on the other side, or maybe you have your feet on one side and your back against the other side, and you're scooching over. Oftentimes there's water underneath. Mm-hmm. There's things called potholes, which are just sheer holes with very steep walls that you have to have like technical skills to be able to climb out of. Mm-hmm. And so slot canyons are just so conducive to pushing you to your limits. Mm-hmm. And when you do that with a group of people, it is so bonding, because you have that decision of like, okay, well, for one thing, I can't go back because we just rappelled.
Right. That was the horrible
only
feeling.
way is you have to go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I think that's what made me so like upset. Like that was the most
like I can't quit this.
Yeah, which is great for my personality that like there is, I mean, maybe that it's like the perfect environment because like to be challenged where you like, it's not, I can't go back because it's failure. It's like, no, you can't go back. Mm-hmm. You cannot get up that 30-foot wall back there. It's a one way.
Yep.
And that was like, that really just like, it made me angry how like out of control I was. And like, you have to keep stepping forward.
Yeah.
Which is it's been such a great, I mean, again, like you look back 3 years ago, that experience, and it's funny how like, well, it's a great story and we had fun with it and we laugh about it today.
Yeah.
But I do see it as like, it's a great picture of so many things that have happened between then and now, and the challenges away from you and I, just like my own life, that just have, it's a great analogy, a picture, a very physical picture of like an emotional battle that you're dealing with a lot of times.
Yeah. I mean, you go into a slot canyon and you are shown like the best and the worst parts of yourself, you know?
Yes.
And it's not just a slot canyon. It's any time you're going to push yourself into a place of life where you're uncomfortable, where you're pushing your comfort zone and you're growing, right? But you do that very, very quickly in a slot canyon. And so that's why I think that's the magic of canyoneering. And I like to take people canyoneering because all of a sudden they're being slam dunked into this situation where they're going to see the best and the worst part of themselves.
Yeah.
And so really anything that you experienced in that slot canyon is going to bring out those like inner parts of yourself that you may not like, but it brings it to the surface and you're like, oh, because when it's under the surface, you can't see it. So how can you work on it? Yeah. How can you embrace it? How can you move forward with it until you see it? So it's when you see it, then the magic really happens. And you know that, okay, there's a part of myself that really hates being out of control and I want an escape zone. Like I want to be able to escape when I can, right? And I think in our conversations, that is something that you've brought up before.
Yeah.
That you know, always have an exit strategy, which is fantastic. Like in survival mode, you want an exit strategy, but sometimes in relationships or things like that, there's not always just an easy exit strategy.
Yeah.
And so for you, that's what came up when you went through that slot canyon. And that's why it was such an intense experience for you. But I think that the fact that you decided to keep going and that you like pushed
decided
through.
Or didn't have a choice.
Okay. That you pushed through and had a good attitude at the end of it.
I took a smiling photo at the end.
Yes. No, but you really came out, I think, stronger just from that simple experience.
Totally. No, yeah. I mean, again, like I said, I'm grateful. There's no regrets of it. Like I wouldn't change doing it. Like if I could see the future, it's like, no, that was a good experience.
Yeah.
And I love it because I think it made us all depend on each other because while you were the expert with us but there was 8 of us. So it did require everyone kind of to, and again, I can't stress that we just met like 24 hours prior to doing this. I don't know if I would recommend that, just willy-nilly go out and do this.
No, it's true. Let's not put that out there. I wouldn't recommend canyoneering with just any stranger.
Yeah, you may want it, but for the sake of our story, it worked out great, but it really set the tone for the group. And I know we're probably going to get redundant with that, but I can't stress that enough, that it pushed all of the fluff and stuff that we throw up to impress each other and be like, oh, this is who I really am. Like, I want you to like this version of me.
Yeah, here's my good side.
Yeah, exactly. It broke all that down and it was like, hi, this is the raw version.
Hey, can you touch my butt and help me get down? Like, you literally have to, hoist each other up. Yep. You have to lift each other up. It's such a great team bonding experience.
Yep.
I didn't do it intentionally. I was just like, hey, I really like canyoneering.
You didn't? I don't believe that.
No, I don't
believe you didn't do it intentionally at all.
No, I was just like, I really like canyoneering and I want to find some ladies who like canyoneering. Let's see if they got what it takes, So I forced you guys down a slot canyon, but I didn't realize that may have been like one of the main reasons why we were all so bonded at the beginning. Because we also came back to camp and we were exhausted. Yeah. You're at that limit of where you've been pushed mentally, physically. And when you've been pushed that way, I think you're also more vulnerable.
Yeah.
In a matter of like 6 hours, we had gone through all the stages of grief and, and then so we're like, all right, let's get down to the real stuff.
Yeah. Everyone was like raw.
Yes.
And
butts were raw and feelings were raw.
Yeah. And we just so quickly dove into like the meat of what our relationship was going to be. Yeah. The bonding element of all of us, which had nothing to do with what we did or how we did it or our personality styles. And I mean, I can't stress that enough. Like, this is 8 women that like should not
so different
do what we do. And yet gosh, we're such a powerful group of women. Like when we get together, I mean, we are the classic group of girls who cry far too often.
Way too much. But also it's so healing. Anyway.
It is. I think this has been this whole experience, and bringing that all back to, I mean, that initial, your vision board, and how grateful I am that you exist, that there are people like you exist that do that. And so this thing, you know, you're learning new things all the time, but just to be this age and go, yeah, I would have always just, and there's so many things about our relationship that I would have written that off and been like, that's crazy. I don't do that. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
And you have forced me to just redefine so many things.
I've been told that people come into my space when they're ready to transform. So I go into their cave with them, their darkness with them, and I help them to like transform and come out on the other end. And so you only come into my space if you're ready to be transformed. And like, so it's hard for me because people come and go in my life. And I always took that really, really personally, like, what's wrong with me? You know, how come I'm not blah, 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 or how come I can't keep a relationship? And I still have relationships with everybody, but people ebb and flow in my life. And it's because they want to transform. And so I can just like really clearly see you and like all of you, not just what you're showing everybody. And so you wouldn't be here with me if you weren't ready to transform. And that's why, like, over the last, I'm not saying I'm the reason why you transformed.
No, I heard you.
But I'm just saying, like, you were primed and ready for that.
Yeah.
And so you personally have gone through a transformation process over the past few years, past 3 years, ever since I've known you. And, but it's really cool. That says a lot about you and your willingness. Like, you were ready for it. You were drawn into my space and you were like, I'm ready to be a better version of myself than I ever have been. And if you look at all the things that have happened in your life now, you can see how that's just like played out as you've like consciously chosen, like, no, like I want to transform. And transformation is hard. Transformation is grueling. Yes. And so you have to be willing to fight the fight. You have to be willing to like go in there.
Thank you. I mean, I think that's encouraging to hear, but I think it's been you've made it like palatable. You've made it something that I'm willing to do. You've created a space that doesn't make it feel like, okay, I've got to like really like sack up and do this thing. Like, you know, I mean, while there's elements of that, definitely, because I jokingly was like, over the last, we've all been really busy. And so connecting has been difficult. And I was like, I would have so many moments where like, I should reach out to Laura. I can't do it though. I can't do it right now because you just see through all the stuff and you just really, you cut to, I don't know, you just cut right through it. And you ask me questions sometimes when I am ready, but not ready to hear them and not ready to deal with what that is. And like, what an asset you are for my psychological journey that I'm like going through and trying to figure out like, how do I see things? Or you just like, you know, you go through life and you think you know what you're doing. You think I've dealt with this. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
But you keep running up against the same boulder just over and over again. And it's like, well, this is just my boulder in life. You know, I'm just going to always have to. And so there's been so many of those where you're like, well, how about at this point we just turn this way?
Yeah, what if we go around the boulder?
And that's as simple as that is. I think sometimes you're ready for it because of your age, but also your age like keeps you from doing that stuff because it's like, well, I know how to do this, you know, and I'm
experienced.
Yeah,
I know the world. I've had these things. There's evidence to my brain that this works and this doesn't work.
Totally. And, you know, sometimes people attribute stubbornness to me. But like, that's like also like, I got this, like, it feels selfish, but you and I, especially this last trip to Utah, we did a trip recently where you and I rode together. So we had several hours in the car together. Yeah. And it's therapy for me to talk to you and to have someone who just isn't afraid to ask the tough questions, isn't afraid to challenge me. But then I think because of that, I have the freedom to ask you questions where I'm like, well, I don't agree with that.
Yes.
And I think I'm right.
But I've actually haven't had a fantastic relationship like that where somebody is willing to be like, well, okay, but what about this? But it's a very safe environment where I'm not attacked. It's like, hey, well, what do you think about this? And then we can ponder it together and explore new things, because I'm not going to pretend that I know everything either, you know? And so I get to learn from your viewpoint and your experiences as well. So
I think it's one of all of our relationships is we're just really honest with each other. Yes. And I think as women, if I could convey that to women outside of our circle, I think sometimes, and I'm sure it's every generation has felt their version of this struggle, but ladies, sometimes we just, I don't know, we're just not as loving with each other. Women have such a special emotional wavelength that they use with each other. And I don't know, just finding that group of women that you can just really be vulnerable with has been so powerful. Because even if you can't be together all the time, even if they're not there with you through everything, to know that we all exist with each other is that'll get you through life. Okay,
so I just had an idea. Okay. What if we paint a picture for what this looks like for women? Because it wasn't until I saw it for myself that I knew what this relationship could be like. And I actually had an experience before reaching out to you guys where I was exposed to the powerful relationship of women. And I went to a retreat, actually. And when I was there, I walked in the door and I didn't know anybody there. Because, I mean, I guess that's my MO, is I'm just like, let's go hang out with a whole bunch of people I don't know. You know?
That's about right.
And so I walk in the door, and all of these women have previously had experiences like this. So they know the game. They know, not the game, but they know, it's not new to them. And I walk in the door, and complete strangers come up to me and just give me a huge hug. And when do we hug strangers? Never. And it's funny because this group of women, they insist on hugging you heart to heart. And if you ever notice, when you hug somebody, you always hug over their left shoulder, which would be blocking your heart. If you were to hug over your right shoulder, our hearts would touch. Okay. And so it's a much more powerful hug when you hug heart to heart. And so I would go this way and they'd be like, no. And really? They would hug me this way. And they would hold me in a way that I hadn't been held in for forever. And you have that automatic reaction of oh my gosh, this is so weird. You're hugging. Do I like this? Do I not like this? But deep on the inside, everybody needs to be hugged. Everybody needs to be loved. And a lot of us have struggled from our parents not being there, and or siblings or whatever, or all those people who are supposed to be there for you aren't there for you. And so you grow up thinking well, I don't need to be hugged. I don't need to be appreciated or listened to, or there's no good space to cry, all of those things. And so I go into this space and everybody's just gives me a huge hug. And everybody, when they talk to you, they look you in the eyes and they see you and they listen to you. And then you're given space to just cry and be the most vulnerable self ever. And nobody questions it, And so I had that experience beforehand. And I knew that I wanted to experience that outside of just this one group of women that I knew. And I had no intention of putting that into what we call the BA Ladies Overland group, right? I had absolutely no intention on bringing that there. But I think what I did was I gave you guys a little bit and then you guys took it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more. And you guys took it. And then I gave you a little bit more and you took it. And then all of a sudden we have this beautiful group of women that when we see each other, we hug each other. And we look into each other's eyes and we listen to each other. And we create this space to be able to cry and be vulnerable, but then also to cheer each other on. I didn't know what I was doing that day was I was creating my own personalized cheerleader, list, right? I have these built list of cheerleaders, and we have a text thread where we'll text each other like, hey, this happened, da-da-da-da. And everybody on the group is like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. You're badass. Like, am I allowed to swear? Badass. You're such a badass, and I'm so proud of you. And we do not get that enough.
And it's genuine. I think everyone makes a point of like, we share these moments in our lives and we want to rally around each other, even if we have zero connection to what it is. I feel like we're just bragging at this point. It's such an awesome
we're so cool, guys.
It's so special though. I mean, I really hope I hope I'm conveying that correctly, that I guess this is like this love letter to our group of women, that it's just been so powerful. And then the encouragement to women outside of it is like, this exists, but sometimes you have to go after them, even a friendship. You have to pursue,
especially a friendship.
Yeah.
You know, like in elementary school, we're like, where's my best friend? You know, and then as we get older, we're like, we don't need friends, but we really do. We really do. And I think back to, I don't know if you've ever seen We Bought a Zoo. Okay, so it's Matt Damon, and his wife dies, and his little family goes out and they purchase a zoo, like a small zoo, right? But one of the quotes from that movie is that all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage. And he's talking about like the first time where he went to go and talk to his wife, or even just the decision to buy the zoo or whatever, right? You just need 20 seconds to open up your mouth. And anybody can have 20 seconds of insane courage, you know? So that's what I would invite if you're somebody who is looking for these connections, you know? And this is like, you're listening to this right now and you're longing for that. And you want that friendship. I want you to decide right now that you're the person who can do it. You have everything inside of you that can create this friendship. And then 2, have like the 20 seconds of insane courage to go out there and ask somebody to be your friend. Invite somebody to the middle of the desert, or it doesn't even have to be overlanding.
Right.
And that's one cool thing about Instagram, is that you can search a hashtag and find people who are very similar to you or have an interest. So maybe your thing is rollerblading, you know, like reach out to the local women in the area who like to rollerblade and put together a rollerblading activity, you know? Just get out of your ego and out of your comfort zone and be the person to do it. And I hope that it is as life-changing for anybody who's listening as has been for us.
Yeah, that was great. We're done. We're just no. Okay,
good.
No, that was awesome. And and so thanks for just being willing. I'm not closing this out. We're not done talking.
Okay.
Sorry. But I do think I just thank you for coming on, and I know you are honest and you don't put any smoke screens up or anything. So it's been exciting to know you're coming to talk, because it's like it's gonna be real. Like, we're gonna have a real conversation, and you are such a huge part of like who I am today and why I'm here. So
stop.
Sorry. But as this podcast matures, I want to be as vulnerable as I can with an audience. So it's fun to bring someone on that I know has that in there.
I can pull some more out of you. No, if you need. We can go there.
It's going to be a 2-parter. But I want to talk about you a little bit, because you do not have a boring life at all, especially this last year, for what all these things that we've talked about, you've implemented in other areas of your life.
Yeah.
And I know you're always learning, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of our lives. It's like, there's always something you're learning.
Always learning, always growing.
I know. One day I don't know why I think you're going to hit a point where you're like, I got it.
Well, I've always heard that if you hit a point where you think that you're done learning, you're doing something wrong.
That's very, very true. So this is an ongoing process. But I guess it's kind of a clunky transition, but we talked about slot canyons.
Yeah.
So I know you were our expert on that trip.
Yes.
But you've been doing slot canyon activities your whole life?
Yeah, I mean, I've been hiking through slot canyons since I was born.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Utah, to a very adventurous father who taught me everything I know about exploring. And, he worked full time, but we were like weekend warriors, right? We would go out and explore all of the national parks in Utah, which there's 5 in Utah, so plenty to explore. And back in the day, it wasn't like today, and there wasn't anybody else there. You could go to Arches and have delicate arch to yourself and things. Crazy. I don't even know what that looks like anymore, right. And so I've grown up hiking through slot canyons.
Okay.
I went on my first canyoneering trip also with my dad, because I think he saw somebody going through one day and he was like, what is that? I need to do it. And so he dragged me and my brother, and my sister has joined us quite a few times as well, down our first slot canyon. And we had done rock climbing before too, so we're not like foreign to rope work or anything like that. And actually, I have many fond stories of going through slot canyons, especially with my dad. And we even got stuck in a slot canyon overnight one time.
This is such a crazy story. I'm so
glad you want me to tell it?
You told this after. Thank God. Because I think there was a moment in our slot canyon where I'm like, are we living here? Because I think we're living here.
We're stuck here forever, right?
You want us to go through what little hole in the rock? No.
Yes. Well, to make a long story short, me and my brother and my dad went down a slot canyon that we now know is actually closed. We didn't know it at the time, but it's like on Native American land.
Okay.
I'm not sure who owns it, but it's closed to the public. And we started late in the day, and it got darker and darker and darker and darker until pretty soon it was dark. And we're like, okay, we're almost done. It's going to open up. And we hit what I call a pothole, and it's those sheer walls. Well, potholes are fine if they're full, because you can like swim across them, right? Because the water level is up and you can swim across. What gets really dangerous is if they're full of, or have water in them, but they're not full, because then you can't get up and out.
Right.
And so we hit a pothole. It's full of water, thank goodness, but none of us were expecting water. And so we weren't like prepared to be cold. And if you know the desert, it's very hot in the day, very cold at night, especially in the depths of a slot canyon. And my brother, he's like, I'll go first. I'll go check it out. And so I'm behind. This is a slot canyon, so it's single file. It's not like we're all just sitting there watching him. We're like, the wall is right on my back and right on my front, and I can't see him because it's dark. And he's like, I'll go first. And so he's like, you just hear this kind of like shuffling, and then you just boosh. And I'm like, oh crap. He's dressed, right? Like all of his clothes are on, and he's like, you just hear splashing, like, like trying to get out on the other side. He got out on the other side, and he's like, whoa, I made it. The bad news is there's more. So what we couldn't see was that around the bend, there were 2 more potholes.
Oh God. So
my dad is like, you could tell he just like flips the switch, right? He's all of a sudden going into like survival mode, right? This is now a life-threatening situation because he's wet, cold, doesn't have a way to get dry. We're in the middle of a slot canyon. We can't build a fire because there's no place to build a fire, So my dad starts stripping down. He's like, okay, Laura, take your clothes off. You can leave your bra on if you want. Like, I'm like 15. So I'm like, my dad's going to see me naked, And he gets butt naked, but like I don't see him, right?
Thankfully,
he's like,
you're in a
just
slut.
hand me your clothes around the thing, and he's like, I'll take your clothes across. So he grabs my pack and my clothes, and he goes across all of the potholes and gets stored into the other end too. And he's like, okay, swim over. So I get in this freezing cold pothole filled with nasty water. It's not like clear water, right? It's gross water. And I have never swam so fast in my life. My dad's like, no wonder why you're on swim team. Like, you're good at that. It was intense. So I make it to the other side, and I still remember, this is probably an overshare, but I get over to the other side, and my dad's like handing me my shirt to put on. And I was like, wait 1 second. And I grab my bra because it was like a padded bra because I'm 15, and I squeeze it out because it's full of water, and he's like, yeah, squeeze those suckers out. These moments that stick in your head, you know?
Yeah.
Like a 15-year-old, your dad's like, yeah, squeeze those out, you know? So I squeezed it out, get dressed, and we hiked for another like 15 minutes, and then it opened up. And we did have space blankets, and then we did have stuff to light a fire. So we found like driftwood or whatever, and were able to light a fire, and we all just cozied up and slept under a space blanket for the night until sunrise. And then we hiked out, and then we experienced the complete opposite, where we ran out of water and we were majorly dehydrated, and we like all fell asleep under the shade of like one lone juniper, you know? And then we like wake up, we're like, where are we? Get back to the car, and there were these Reese's peanut butter cups that we had purchased before. And that was like the thing that got me back to the car. So I was like, oh, I'm going to eat that dang Reese's peanut butter cup. So I ate the Reese's peanut butter cup. And then my dad was like, yeah, we're going to get a hotel tonight. So then we went, got a hotel. And so these can be dangerous things. Don't go canyoneering on your own if you don't know what you're doing, right? Yeah. But I've been canyoneering for a very long time.
I didn't get that. I've never heard the full story. I loved all the little extras.
The extras.
The comments.
Squeeze those puppies out.
It is true, though. I mean, I think doing what we do, we lose the perspective of that because we all do it so often, or it's become so regular for us. But yeah, there is definitely an asterisk on everything we do that, like, it's great while it's great.
Yes.
But if something goes wrong, like that's where those backup plans or the contingency plans or having redundancies within your off-road or hiking or anything outdoors, because when we say it often, man, the desert is trying to kill you and like any way it can. And so if you have a misstep or something goes awry, it can get bad real fast.
Really, really fast. Yeah. So it's those times that don't happen very often, but you need to be prepared for them.
Totally. So you decided that you wanted to become a filmmaker. Yeah.
So actually one of the things that I put on my vision board around the same time that I said I wanted to be part of a woman's overlanding group is that I wanted to be a part of an award-winning film. And so, of course, who do I meet at this overlanding group, this women's group, is Rochelle Croft from Expedition Overland. Mm-hmm. And I have to credit her for seeing my potential when I couldn't even see my potential, right? She was like, oh, you make family home videos? Show me the link to your YouTube channel, you know? So she went home, checked out my YouTube and showed it to Clay and was like, hey, like, do you see, essentially they saw potential. Mm-hmm. And so they invited me up for a week to edit on their Baja series. And then the next year they invited me up for a month to edit their Alaska series. And then this year I've been editing their Nordic series. Mm-hmm. So I knew how to edit from YouTube, essentially. No, not as like I definitely learned from YouTube how to edit. That's all my training. And then I learned how to storytell through Clay and Rochelle. And so the cool thing is that through this, I gained confidence where I decided I wanted to test my own skills on creating a film from start to finish. So I decided, let's go make a film. Do you have any questions?
Well, I mean, editing is one part of making a film.
Right.
So when you took on this idea of a project, were you fully aware that you were going to do all the things?
So I didn't necessarily want to do all the things. Okay. And I didn't intend to do them all on my own. That's for sure. I definitely intended in my mind to get like financial backing, sponsors, maybe hire some camera crew and like do it, do it. And I, long story short, ended up not getting any funding, no sponsors. And I think that was more to my lack of ability to sell myself, or to sell my vision, not necessarily that I wouldn't be able to, you know what I'm saying, right? Totally. But for all intents and purposes on this story and these things that happened in my life, I believe that they needed to happen. but I essentially got to the point where if I was going to move forward, I had to move forward on my own. And
that was not easy for you. I mean, as one of your friends who wasn't alongside you in this project, but I think we were all watching you go through this process because you went through a wave of trying to raise funds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you hit the nail on the head with you weren't comfortable selling yourself.
Yes.
Not that was a negative thing. It was just very much outside. It's outside of your style as well.
Yeah.
So as much as I think like my brain's like, well, she just needed to do X, Y, and Z and she could have gotten there.
Yeah, totally do it.
But this is Laura. This is you dealing with your character and what you were comfortable sacrificing or pushing through.
Yep.
So I know because during that time there was like, well, do we step in and force her through?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we just let her like, because of the project, like a film, like, and because it was something, I mean, I'll give it away. It's about slot canyons, or at least that's your main focus. I knew it was so personal for you. So it was also one of those things as your friends who know you and also know like the journeys we all have to be on. It's like, but you don't want to steal that experience from her that she's going through. And so on the outside, it was tough to watch you and to hear, I mean, the valid disappointment in what you had wanted.
Yes.
Especially when we go after lofty goals. That's the other thing. Like that's a tough lesson in life. Totally necessary, but so tough to put yourself out there and to ask for something really big publicly.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even know what like failure really looks like. But when it feels like it's failing, I think there's almost like an element of regret of I shouldn't have done this. This was a bad decision. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't have stepped out and, been vulnerable publicly.
I told everybody I had these big lofty goals and now they're not what they're.
And now I'm just a failure.
Yes. Yes.
And that's brutal. That's a brutal spot to be in. And I think all in our own way kind of knew what you were feeling, but also like, but we can't step in on this one. Yeah. Like if she wants it, if it's really that's something that she needs to go after, she'll do it. And knowing you too, it's like, you'll do it.
Yeah.
So sorry, that was my interjection.
I liked it. No, it was great. I like to hear your perspective and your side of looking out from an outsider of what I was going through.
Yeah. And again, because of that intimacy of our relationships, I think we all kind of know, we can read between the lines when things are said. Like, I know what that means. And it's like, but you're strong enough. We know you well enough that like, well, if this goes by the wayside, then it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't, something that was up there. And this is an experience that you pocket and hold on to for later, or you're going to find a way.
Yeah.
A way around that boulder or whatever,
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me was that essentially I've always had a hard time with my worth. And that's, I think, something that most people deal with. But I think for me, it's been like a running theme through my life. And it's something that I may always have to fight, I'm getting a whole lot better at it. And through this experience was huge. But essentially what like this experience was communicating to me is like, well, if nobody wants to fund it and nobody sees my vision and nobody likes it, then it must not be worth anything. And it was really hard for me to face that point and be like, everybody else is telling me that it's not worth anything. But if I'm the only one who cares about it, if it's just me and I'm the only one who's passionate or desires this, is that still worthwhile? And that's like one of those moments in the movies where the main character makes that decision that hell yeah, it is worth it. Even if it is just you and you're the only one who gives a crap about it, it is still 100% worth it. And there was that flip inside of me where I was like, dang it, I'm going to do this. Even if I am the only person who's going to do it, even if I have to do every single bloody step of the way, I'm going to do this. And that moment in my life has changed me for forever.
But the story continues.
The story continues. Yeah. So I decide to make a film.
Yes.
And I essentially went through film school while I was making it. That's what I always say is like, making that film was my film school.
Yeah.
You know? So there were so many moments in there that were excruciating along the way. You know, just moments where I felt like a complete failure or way big imposter syndrome because I've never done anything like this before. And here I am like reaching out to people like, hey, I want to come and make a documentary of you. Like, and having to act legit. I mean, that's what it comes down to, you know, everybody's just kind of faking it till they make it. And that was totally me. And super grateful for Ashley, our friend Ashley, because she's like, hey, I'll come out and I'll hang with you and I'll do whatever you need to do. And there was a moment where we're going down to Escalante to interview and to film a project down there that was going on. It's a graffiti remediation project that is going on in the slot canyons. So essentially what happens is new people come along and they like write their names or whatever on the walls of slot canyons. And because they see that there, other people are like, oh, this is a normal thing to do.
Right.
Totally fine to go do this. And so then you end up getting whole walls full of names or whatever drawings. And most of the time it's honestly just like kids, you know, they're just picking up a rock, they're just scratching into it. They're not being vengeful or anything like that, right? That's just regular goers. But Grand Staircase Escalante partners are doing graffiti remediation. So they go out and they try to, you can't really remove graffiti.
Yeah.
You just kind of make it so that you can't see it as much, so that hopefully less people will do it. So I was going down there to film then. And so we're camped out, get to camp, and I'm just having like major panic attack. Like, oh my gosh, like what if I just go and I show up and I just like don't film anything, you know? Like I'm just so scared, you know? And Ashley like sits down. She looks me in the eye. And you know Ashley. I know. She's like, so you're telling me that what you're scared of is that you're going to show up tomorrow and you're just going to forget to film? And I'm like, yes, I am. And nothing was said after that. And I was just like, okay, I get it. It's going to be fine. I'm not just going to forget to film something, you know, but it was like, I was almost having one of those dream moments where like in your worst nightmare, you know, you like show up someplace and your card doesn't, or your camera doesn't have a card in it or something, right?
College, you forget to go to class. That's a reoccurring one.
Yes, exactly. So we showed up, filmed it. It went smashingly well. It was so awesome. And I ended up finishing the film, and during this time period, it was really cool, going back to the vision board, is that the Alaska series that I helped edit on for Expedition Overland won an award. And I was like, oh, awesome. Check that off the list. I am part of an award-winning film. Yeah. How cool is that? But there was like something that made me keep it up there. Because usually what I do after I accomplish something off of my vision board, I'll take it off. There's no time frames on them, so I never put like, this has to happen by this time, right? So I have some stuff on there that has been on there for maybe like 7 years, you know, and still hasn't been checked off. But I take it off and I put it in a binder. And then this binder is this evidence binder to my brain that I can do it. Right? It's really cool because you go back and you're like, holy cow, I did this and I did this and I did this. We all need an evidence binder. I
love that you do this. It's so amazing.
You have to have it. Like it's probably that self-worth theme that keeps coming back, and I have to remind myself, no, gosh, dang it, you know, I don't know if anybody else has these thoughts, but.
Well, you've put such great words to those thoughts. I think you've really, you've forced a conversation out of these feelings, which has made, I think that's what makes you so powerful in your interactions and how you just like, and why I wanted you here just to talk to you, because I know it comes out. So you've been doing it for so long and articulating it so well.
Thank you.
And maybe in that safe space of us women, you've been able to kind of expand how free you get and how vulnerable you choose to get with us. I mean, we all know we've all been really vulnerable.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm excited to see where you go, because I think you've just recently, in this film context, found a voice.
Yeah.
And I know you've got you have a ways to go in like being more comfortable still in how you step out into that. And I mean, that's all part of the journey.
It's all one step at a time.
Totally.
Right? I can't take 10 steps forward without,
Yeah, no.
I have to take each little step.
But you're so honest with sharing that, especially with us. And I know with others, this is your process that you're going through.
Yep.
And gosh, there's so much power in sharing that experience, because I think, as our group knows, one person's problem, while the circumstances may be different, we all know that feeling.
Yes.
And when we're able to be really vulnerable and talk about it, we hear things that will help us.
Yeah.
And go, oh, okay, I'm not doing that, so maybe I should try that. And that's the power of communication and community.
Communicating with your community.
Yeah. In a real way.
Yes.
And finding the words for that. So I wanted you to keep telling the story. So you filmed the graffiti cleanup.
Yes. So I instead of putting this in my evidence journal, I felt to keep it up there.
Right.
And there was this like little hint in my brain, and like when I say I feel it, I really do feel things, right? I can feel like the flow. I can feel the flow of something. I know that sounds so kind of crazy, but like if I put a goal up there, and I can tell if it's going to happen really fast because I can feel the force or energy moving towards it. Or if there's a goal up there, I can be like, nope, I am not in alignment with that goal yet, is really what it is. Mm-hmm. It's not like, is that goal coming to me? It's like, if you put a goal up there that you're really in alignment to, then all of a sudden it can happen really fast. So anyway, I kept this up there because I could still feel there was something there and it needed to stay there. And so little did I know I was going to end up winning my own award for my film. Mm-hmm. I won Best Documentary and Best Short Documentary. And that in and of itself was a huge experience. Like, I remember I just wanted to go out to be a part of the film festival because it was chosen as like one of the selections. And I was like, I have to go see my film in a film festival in Kentucky, right? So I'm like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to see my film on screen. And I was so elated to just be there and have my film be part of a film festival. Yeah. That in and of itself was so cool. And I remember like writing in a journal on the plane ride there, just like so overcome with emotion of just like gratitude. And I'll be overcome with emotion right now where, man, there is no better feeling when you chose to do something and everything felt like it wasn't going according to how you wanted it, or there were other things that said it wasn't of worth, and you fought for it. And then to see it finished at the end. And only you are the person, like you're the only person that knows how hard you worked for it and everything that you had to go through and the person that you became on the other end. That right there is living. That right there is why we should live. Not to look at our phones, not to watch TV, not to waste our life away, but to have these experiences where you're pushed to your limits, where you're out of your comfort zone, and where you ask, am I going to make it out on the other end? Because it's then that you are transformed. And sitting there on that plane, I could feel my transformation. And I was just like, holy cow, I like who I see. I love that I kept going even though I didn't have to. Nobody gave a rat's ass if I kept going. And then the sweetest part was sitting there when they called my name and told me that I won. And I was just, it was so cool because I didn't even care if I won. That wasn't why I did it. I did it just to do it, just to complete it. And so then just to have that bonus on top was just really, really cool. And I have the award up on my shelf as evidence that I can do hard things, that I can achieve these things. And yeah.
Oh, I love that story.
Sorry. Do we need makeup?
So Sorry about that. We had to take a break. That break was sponsored by Kleenex and the snot rolling out of my nose. So we had to compose ourselves a little bit. But I have a feeling we're not done crying though. So keep that Kleenex handy. I'm just going to go head first into the emotional stuff.
Great. Let's do it.
This is, again, because our journey together over the last few years has involved so many of these conversations and watching each other go through this. It just, I think it really speaks to back to, I don't know, the power of sharing with each other and communicating. Yes. And how much we can impact each other by sharing these experiences. And so that the experience of you going after this thing you put on a vision board and then having the wisdom or the intuition to see a goal and you met the criteria to check it off the box or to check the box and put it away.
Yeah.
But still being sensitive enough to realize you're not done with something.
Yes.
And that you still need to pursue. I think that's really valuable too, because I think maybe we all do. We like to check the box, and we're so eager to check the box. Like, does that qualify yet? Can I check the box? Can we be done with this lesson? I'm done. But to be sensitive in that way is also really inspiring and also just makes me more sensitive to seeing that in myself.
Yeah.
That sometimes the job isn't done. The journey isn't over yet. You still need to pursue it.
There's still more to learn. Okay, let's do this.
I know. That's never ending.
I always joke that it's like, well, I did learn, but I learned it to a degree. Now I got to learn it to another degree. And I think that's why you see patterns show up in your life. Mm. But a lot of times we shy away from a pattern showing up because we're like, oh my gosh, it's just this pattern happening again and again and again. But in reality, it's a great thing because it's like you're learning it to a different degree every single time, right? Mm-hmm. Like I remember when I was in high school and I watched the movie Penelope where she has a pig nose. Mm-hmm. And at the end, the thing that gets her pig nose to go away is that she decides that she loves herself for who she is, even with her pig nose. I remember sobbing and crying in that movie. And I was like, wow, I've made such great strides and lengths over loving myself and seeing my worth, And then, that was when I was in high school, right? And still 20 years later, right? I'm still learning that lesson, but it's on a much deeper level now. So patterns aren't a bad thing. No. And recognizing them, I think, gives you, it empowers you to it's like, okay, we've been here before. Like, how do I categorize this? And I think sometimes it gives you confidence to move into spaces because it's like, you don't have to wallow in the oh no, it's happening again. It's like, no, we know what this is. Yes. And we can take confidence in that and then let's get better at this. The universe is like, okay, let's apply what you learned then. Yeah. That's always brutal. It's always brutal when you realize didn't learn that well as I thought I had. Yeah. So, but you mentioned kind of being sensitive to things, or at least being able to recognize now that at a younger age you were dealing with these patterns. Oh, absolutely. But you see people very specifically. And I think to come back to our relationship, I am somebody who, maybe because of my upbringing or just how I'm structured, I feel a lot. But because of that intense feeling, I have learned to kind of put a lid on a lot of that because there's a lot of loss of control when things are felt too intensely. Or you've been shamed for feeling that. Or I've been shamed for that. Yeah, and I think you have really shown me kind of that there are situations where no, don't. That doesn't need to have a cap on it. You can feel that. Let's walk through that together. And you do that with me together. I think that's been a big part of our bond. What makes you comfortable with that? Because I don't think that, I could see Laura as a young girl struggle. And because I know that struggle you have with self-worth. It's so powerful to me that you provide so much worth to others. You see our worth and you convey that in such a powerful way that we're always blown away by your revelations or whatever. You speak these things to us, these encouraging words as your friends. So it's always interesting that I know your weaknesses. Yes. Or things you struggle with. Absolutely. So what made you confident enough to speak to us, to speak to others the way you do? That's a good question, and one that I don't know if I have a super straightforward answer for you. You know, it wasn't like any one specific point in my life that made me that way. Um, so I grew up very spiritual, grew up very religious, and so I was definitely exposed to this world where, you know, you were taught to like feel the spirit, right? So the idea of feeling something wasn't off for me, right? That was like something that I allowed into my space from a very young age. And I remember like going to church and stuff, they would talk about spiritual gifts. And anytime they talked about spiritual gifts, I was like, ooh, like it was my favorite subject. I loved talking about spiritual gifts. And I always wanted to know like what mine were. And, you know, you were taught that you could like pray for spiritual gifts and things like that. And so I don't know, it's something that's just always been inside of me where I've just been highly interested in the things that you can't necessarily see, but you can feel. And those things that aren't tangible, but very, very much exist. And so you could call it a natural gift or a natural talent, right? That has just always been a part of me, but that I've definitely developed through the years and allowed to come into my space. I also just, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to, man, now you're asking me to get vulnerable. Like,
Welcome to the podcast.
Really vulnerable. And it's hard. It's hard when you're also like in the middle of things. Right? Where you're like, well, I don't really know down from up or left from right on some of these matters like religion or church or spirituality, right? So recently I've gone through a lot of growth myself. And realizing that I was living inside of a box that had gotten me really far and had taught me a lot of really amazing things. But I've started to break out of that box. And as you break out of that box, then you're like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff. And you're not sure like what you want to keep, what you want to leave, what is right for you, what's not right for you. And so that's kind of where the journey that I'm currently on, which is why it's somewhat difficult for me to talk about how I've gotten to where I am.
Well, a second ago, you mentioned a box, and so I think I know, but but what is that box, or what are the confines of what you're feeling?
Yeah. Well, okay, so for me personally, and all of us can have our own boxes, right?
For sure.
But for me personally, the box has been the LDS religion. And I for sure don't want to like say anything negative about it because it's something that I still really value. And the values that are taught there are incredibly strong and incredibly beneficial. And they have made me who I am today. And I'm incredibly grateful for those. But I think what has happened is that I have seen that some of the beliefs are actually very limiting to my relationship with God. And I am somebody who has always had a relationship with God. And a lot of people talk about a faith crisis that they're going through. I mean, you see that all the time in lots of religions, but I think I'm exposed to it a lot in the LDS community. And so my faith crisis isn't so much like, where is God? Does he exist? Things like that. It's more like, does God put us in a box? Does God love us if we do X, Y, Z and only if we do X, Y, Z? And I personally believe in a God who loves us no matter what. And that's gone along with the worth thing that we've talked about, is that one of the things that I've struggled with is that I have to do X, Y, Z in order to obtain God's love. And I don't believe that. And Rochelle Croft actually has been somebody that has helped me work through this a lot, and I'm forever grateful for her for opening my viewpoint and holding my hand through this, because when you are raised for 31, almost 32 years, inside of a box, and that box feels safe because it gives you a home, and you know where the walls are, and you know what to do or not to do, you know, that kind of thing. And when you open the lid to that box, and all of a sudden you're like swimming through this unknown territory, it can be extremely rocky because all of a sudden you don't know what's left or right or up or down kind of thing. It's like being open to a whole new world that you had no idea was there. And so navigating those waters has been very interesting, to say the least. And the church has been such a big part of me for my entire life that who am I without it has been the real question. And so once again, I'm pushing myself to figure out who I am, like as an individual, not as like a religion or as a church group or things like that. But I seek after a real relationship with God, and anything that like constrains me or confines me from being able to have that relationship with him is something that I don't want to keep in my space. So a lot of these things, like these experiences that I've had with you guys or other women, or like being able to like feel people's energies and things like that, it is so real. It's crazy real, and it blows my mind. It freaks me out, but it's something that's not accepted within that community. And so then when I know that this is real, and I know what I experience, and I know the love that I feel for people and the love that God feels for people, and then to like think about not being accepted has made me walk away from it and move in a different direction. So
I understand that completely. That has a totally different meaning.
The world is full of color. It's
Yes.
not black and white.
Oh, that you're talking. You know you said that to the wrong person. Did you realize you used black and white with me?
No, I'm just remembering. I was like, oh yeah, you're the one that I made the bracelet. That was black and
So
white.
now we have to talk about bracelets.
Yes, let's talk about
This
bracelets.
is like the most girly podcast ever.
Hey, all you male listeners, listen up.
So, this is a beautiful segue to this topic. Let's talk again. I'm sorry, we're going to cut that. We'll give you a break from the
Totally
personal question. Our girl group not only gets together and hangs out and cries and has all these moments where we speak truth to each other and encourage it and do, the mothers,
with each other's hair.
the mother ceremonies and braid each. Oh my gosh,
We braid each other's hair.
we braid each other's hair.
Like, guys, this is all out. We do it all those stereotypical things that we make fun of ourselves for. It's the things that you need.
And all I'm thinking is like, I am not on a girls' trip where we make bracelets. Like, are you kidding me? This is where I draw the line. Like, you threw me off the edge of a canyon. I've already met all these women I don't really know, and now you want me to make bracelets?
And I love that that's the thing that held you up, was the bracelet making. It's like, not the canyoneering, nothing else. It was the bracelet.
That was my exit. And so I did not make a bracelet on that first trip because I was like, I do this like camping off-road thing. Like, I don't make bracelets. Like, that's not why I'm here, folks. So,
yes, yeah.
In my ego, like totally just, wow. Amazing.
It's fine.
No,
it's so fine.
But I think what I like about it is I think sometimes my perspective and my experience lends to, then I understand when I see the same thing happen, so you present an opportunity to somebody and you see that response.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's like, you can stay in that, mindset, and that's fine.
Yep.
But just know I was in the exact same one. And I came to this side, and this has been the experience of it. And so there is benefits to doing this, because there is more to to the bracelets than you realize.
Yeah. So our first experience was just like, hey, here's some beads. And if you want to put an intention behind it, you can. It can be just serve as a little gentle reminder. It's like a vision board that you wear.
And the intention is done very simply. It's, obviously there's thought behind it while you're making it, but you always have the Braille, code for us.
Yes.
And it's done with colors or patterns and with Braille. So there's a word.
With Morse code.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Not Braille.
Braille, I don't know
That
Braille.
Doesn't work.
But with Morse code.
Yeah.
So there's colors, or you can put a word in it, and the colors can mean things and have intention, and then the words obviously can mean things too. So almost everybody made a bracelet that day except for you and Rochelle.
Yeah, because Rochelle never made them either.
Yeah.
I
don't think so. So that was our first experience with it. Very low key, simple. What was our second trip?
Was in Death Valley. And that was when, that one you switched it up. And this time we were all willing to do them. Everyone was going to be on board. And this was a bummer because Rochelle missed this experience. At this point, we start losing people. Not everyone can make the schedule.
Yep.
But we'd gone into Death Valley. We did it again. And I guess it's kind of a silly story, but we're telling it. You had us make a bracelet we picked names. We picked each other's names.
Okay.
So everyone got a random name from one of the girls, and then we made a bracelet for that individual.
Yes.
But we didn't know who was doing what, and everyone was just kind of sat around and did this at camp.
And then we had an exchange where we're like, I made this bracelet for you, and it has this intention with it. Is that when I gave you the
black and
white one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where the black and white comes. And so some of them were like, I just liked this, and it's always been that way. If there's just something that this word just is what I think of when I think of you, and I just want to encourage you that way. And some of them were like, I can't get this word out of my head when I'm thinking about you, and I don't know what it means. And I think those are the scariest, and I'd say that the most powerful ones, because we've watched those become
the most powerful ones.
Break through everything.
Yes.
The one where the maker has no idea what the word.
Sorry, I don't know what this is. So here you go. Hope you like it.
When we do that now, that is a common thing.
Yes.
I think everyone's comfortable with okay, I have this word. I don't know what it means. Hope it means something.
Yes.
Good.
Well, and so then it has now developed into what it is we actually don't pick names.
Right.
It is just, I encourage people, I encourage all the ladies to just take a step back, to just become very heart-centered, as in think in your heart, not in your brain. Because you know how you can think in your brain, but you can think from your heart too. Mm-hmm. And then just whatever comes to you, make that bracelet. It could be a word, or it could just be something that, an image that pops into your mind, maybe a sunset or something, and you make a bracelet based off of whatever it is that comes to you. Mm-hmm. And then we blindly choose the bracelets. Mm-hmm. And I still remember the first time we did this, because one, I was terrified of how it was going to work out. I knew it was going to work out. There's just that knowing. But then at the same time, you're like, what if this is just totally crazy and it doesn't work? Mm-hmm. But the craziest thing was how well it worked, and that everybody received the bracelet that they were clearly meant to receive.
Yeah.
And I'll tell one of mine. It's actually very interesting because there's the American flag right behind you. And the bracelet that Ashley made for me that I ended up getting, right, was an American flag, kind of. Okay. But how she did it was black, white, and red beads, kind of in a pattern that said independent on it. And then the very end of it had like all the blue all like put together. But when you look at it, you're just like, ugh, like, ew, there's just like this chunk of blue in there and it doesn't go with the rest. And I don't really love the colors black and white and red. Like, those aren't my colors, you know? So it, it gets down to us picking, right? And there's 6 bracelets and it gets down, there's 2 left. And there's the bracelet I made and it said crown on it. Crown was the word in it, and it was really pretty. Like, it had some just gorgeous colors in there. It said crown. And then the other one was hers, that one. And it said independent. I didn't know that it said it at the time, but I was just like, that is an ugly bracelet, and I do not want it, you know? So it gets down to her, and in my mind, I'm like, don't choose one, don't choose one, don't choose one, you know? So then it was very interesting. She chose the independent bracelet that she made. And so she gets it and she's like, this is not my bracelet. And I'm like, well, it's not mine either, because that thing is ugly, you know? And she's like, so she goes and explains what it is. And it was the word independent. And that was at the time that I was deciding if I wanted to move forward with my film, if I was going to do it by myself. And the thought of doing it by myself was the same way I felt like when I looked at that bracelet. And I was like, that is icky and yucky, and I don't like it. And then her bracelet said crown or crowned. I can't remember if it was crown or crowned, right? Or the one that I made, right? And I was like, I'm so happy with this bracelet. It's so pretty. And like, it means like essentially accepting like your divinity and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is so great. I love it. And everybody in the group was like, Laura, you guys have to switch bracelets. Yeah. That one is clearly yours. And really, I was incredibly, what we all also talk about is how the experience of receiving the bracelets, the experience of making the bracelets, like if the bracelet broke or if you had to restring it 100 times or if somebody else had to help you with it or whatever, has just as much to do with it as the actual bracelet. And so I was so against being independent and against like going forward and doing this by myself. I didn't believe I could. And that was the exact energy behind it. And so it's really cool because Ashley was the one who ended up coming and helping me film. And she was there by my side during the film, and she helped me. So I didn't have to do it independently. I was doing it independently, but she was that person in the back of my mind, like, you can do this independently.
Right.
And then the craziest thing is that what we didn't know is that at the time, Ashley was like 2 weeks pregnant. And she didn't know it. And I have this tradition called a mother's blessing. And let's just go really crazy here, you guys. You said you wanted me to get into it.
I described this whole podcast as like, we're just going to get real woo-woo on you. It's going to get real out there.
So I have a mother's blessing where it's just like more about doting on the mother than it is about, because when you have a baby shower, right? And that's like preparing the mom for when that baby's actually there. So you're getting like clothes for the baby and stuff like this. The mother's blessing is all about preparing the mom. And especially for when it's their first baby. And just giving them that strength and that love that you need in order to bring a child into the world. And so part of a mother's blessing is that I do a crown braid in their hair because I'm crowning them with their divinity. And we each take flowers and put flowers in their hair.
We know it's ridiculous. Everyone's out there. We know it's ridiculous. But you weren't there. Well, and as someone who this is not my thing, like at all. And so I get it. Because when we say it out loud, I'm like, we should probably not say that out loud, that we do this. And you so timidly always bring these new ideas to us. You're always like, I want to do a mother's blessing. And don't think it's weird yet. Like, just hear me out. This is what we're going to do. It is the most, again, as women, like, it's so powerful because it is the most loving experience. And it is truly, like, I mean, especially we know Ashley, and I mean, we know her personality, and as strong as Ashley is she is can be a force to be reckoned with, and knows her mind, and we love that about her. And yet, like, I know she was in pain during that weekend. She was having some discomfort because of the pregnancy and frightened. I mean, rightfully so. You're about to give birth for the first time, and that's a big deal, and you're dealing with all these new emotions. And I know those pregnancy emotions, like, were in the face of who Ashley is. Like, it was like, who is this pregnant version of me? Because I do not like it. And to just kind of like hold her. Yep. Everything was so loving. And it seems weird, but I think it's weird because we're a society that's so withdrawn from each other. Yes. And we don't want to be too vulnerable. We don't want to be intimate because we don't want it to get weird. Like, God forbid we actually know each other. Yes. But to speak like encouragement to her in this moment, and like how much we love her and how much we know she's got this. Mm-hmm. And if she doesn't have something, like, she's got us. Yeah. And we're doing that while just, while kind of pampering her in a way. Yeah, like giving her foot massage and like hand massage and stuff like that, like physically pampering her. Yeah. And again, on paper, or I've had you describe this whole thing to me, I'm like, what are we doing? Well, and had we had done this the first time we had met, there's no way. I would have been gone. I'm like, all right, it was a great time. I'll see you later. Yeah. But having experienced that with Ashley, and I know you guys did it with Sarah, I wasn't able to make that one. But again, it's just one of those things that, like, we're coming together and really just taking all the walls out. Yes. Like, there's no barriers to anything. And I think we really feel that there's just, it's a true safe space with each other. Yeah, I was going to say it's a sacred space. Like, when we have those times together, it really is like sacred, Yeah, everything about what that's been created with this group of women is definitely life-changing. And I think you sharing yourself on this journey with what you're trying to figure out, who you are still and what you want to do. I guess I just really want you to know, like, you've made a huge impact. And I mean, I'll bring it back to, like, I brought you out, or you came out with us on a ladies' night camp out, and it ended up working out that you were able to kind of, not as intensely, or maybe we didn't even go into full depth, but you were able to share kind of this gift you have of just, I think it's just pure encouragement. It's a very raw form of encouragement. You cut to the quick, you see right through everyone, all the extra stuff. And you also have this power to just disarm people. And so you were around a campfire with a group of women you didn't know at all. Yet again. And I barely knew. It wasn't like I brought, like, it was like these women you didn't know. And I think you and I kind of started the process of showing, like, it sounds weird, but it's not. Like, just go with it. We're just connecting with each other and just choosing to, like, instead of talking about what you do for a living, we're going to talk about, like, how are you feeling this weekend? Like, what's going on with you? My favorite phrase is, how can I support you? Yeah. I think that's, and meaning it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I think you convey that you mean it. And I don't even know how that's teachable. I feel like that's definitely a gift you, like, have that's instilled in you. Thank you. It's hard because I don't want to come across as, like, anybody's savior, right? Or anybody's healer or anything special. All I want to do is to show people the love that they deserve. Mm-hmm. And I think because I'm willing to show people the love that they deserve and that they need to see, I get called to experiences like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not always necessarily prepped or ready for it or, like, in the mindset for it. I'm like, yeah, let's do this, because, like, sometimes I just want to hang out by the fire, you know, and just chill. But so I definitely do have moments of exhaustion. Yeah. And actually this last year I released my film, right? And it did what's the name of your film? I'm sorry, we didn't even say the name of your film. The Mark We Make is the name of the film.
That's fine.
We'll insert that in a weird spot later.
Yes, exactly. Just look at the comments below. So I had finished that and I could feel this like release that I needed to rest and that it was my time to rest. And so the last year I have been resting, and it's been actually very interesting because I have found myself in situations where instead of me helping other people, they're all of a sudden helping me. And that is a really beautiful experience too. Like on our last girls trip that you weren't able to make it to, it ended up just being like Rochelle and Clarissa and I in the desert at one point. And they loved on me and supported me like I have done for them. And I'll actually like never forget that day because we all need that. You know, as strong as everybody is, we all need that love and support.
Yeah, that's it. Before we cry again, I want to know, it's the beginning of a new year.
It is.
So what is on the vision board now for you? What are we looking forward to, and what are you going after?
I have a lot of things that have still been on there for years. And maybe those might happen. A lot of like destinations I want to go to and overland in. Those have been there for a while. But the one that I only put one on this year. That was new. And it was that I want to create a feature-length documentary. But I want it to be like the real deal. Like I want to go all in, and I would like us specifically on there. And I don't normally get really specific with goals, which has pros and cons, right? Because I've run into trouble with that, where you're like, well, yeah, I did technically achieve that goal. Maybe I should have been more specific. Like, for example, I said that I wanted to become a regular someplace, and for me to like walk in and they're like, Laura, the usual, you know? And that happened, but it happened at the pharmacy. They're like, oh, Laura, how's your family? You want the usual meds? Yep, we got them back here for you. I'm like, oh, no. That's not what I meant, okay? So maybe in those instances, you need to be a little bit more specific.
Okay.
But on this one, I specifically said that I wanted it to play in, like, theaters across the nation. And let's be clear that this goal terrifies me. Right? This isn't like, oh, I totally know what I'm doing. This is going to happen like this. I have all the tools that I need right now to make it happen. No, this is a goal that is going to stretch me beyond whatever I have already been stretched to, right? And I like, in the mornings, I'm like, this is great because I'm a morning person. And then in the evenings, I'm like, what am I thinking? This is the worst. I'm crazy, you know? So, but I'm very excited. I know from my history and I know from enough experience that you take one step forward and then you take another step forward and the right people come and the right resources come. And then you take another step forward. And I also know that if I don't have any funding and nobody gives a rat's tushy about it, it's still going to happen. Right. And that I can make it happen, you know? And I'm really excited about the person that I will be on the other side of that one.
Thank you. Thank you for showing me like what really living looks like. 'Cause I think you're going after it. It's so fun to watch. And I know I get such an intimate view of what you're doing, but I think you're living. And it's inspiring. Everything about it is really inspiring. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing so much of you with not only us, but the audience. So
thank you. Thanks for having me and you being willing to be vulnerable as well, because I know that's not necessarily something that comes easy to you.
You're getting there.
Yeah, you are. Like, what the heck? You've grown so much over the last 3 years. I'm very proud of you and everything that you're doing here. And like, just keep going.
We'll do it together.
Sounds good.
Let's
do it.
All right. That's a wrap.